In the March 3rd, 2020 Monterey Park City Council election, there are 8 candidates competing for 3 seats on the Monterey Park City Council. 4 candidates from District 2. This is a term of 4 years. All candidates running for these 3 positions have agreed to participate in this candidate forum. The candidates from each district are seated together at the far left. For District 2, we will begin with the opening statements. The first candidate to give an opening statement will be from Robert Bob Jin.
First, I'd like to say thank you to the League of Women Voters for organizing this candidate forum. Now, I've been a resident of Monterey Park for over 60 years. I grew up and attended Brightwood School and Alhambra High School and received my business degree at Cal State LA. I've been married to my wife for 45 years and raised my 4 daughters here in Monterey Park, and they attended Brightwood School. 2 attended Alhambra, and 2 of my youngest attended Marquevo High School. I was involved with PTAs at both schools, and currently I serve on the Board of Education for the Alhambra Unified School District for the last 18 years, advocating for our students and building a great school district. I'm proud to have passed major bonds to modernize all of our schools, in building new buildings for Marquevo, a new gym, and really provide a wonderful environment for learning environment for our kids. I also work with a budget of over $230 million for the school district. So I know what it takes to be fiscally responsible. I can bring that experience of collaboration and my public governance experience for the last 18 years to the City Council. I look to ensure the safety of our neighborhoods, provide transparency and accountability, to be fiscally responsible, and to be be cost effective and be efficient in the way we run our city, and to really listen to what our citizens have to say about how our city is run and looking at the developments. So I look forward to working on the City Council with the rest of the City Council and the City Manager. Thank you.
And the next opening statement will be from Yvonne Yiu.
Hello， 大家好，我叫饶颖凡。Hello， 大家好，我叫姚颖凡。Hi everyone, this is Yvonne Yiu. I'm running for Monterey Park City Council District 2. I came from Hong Kong when I was 16. I managed to be top 2% in high school. I went straight to UCLA, finished in 3 years. I have MBA from Loyola Marymount and CRCP compliance professional from Wharton Business School UPenn, and with 10 different security licenses. I used to work for Merrill Lynch as a regional sales manager, managing 5 branches, 53 financial advisors, and 4 billion assets. 10 years ago, I started my own investment bank, specializing in private equity, and now I retired. I wanted to give back to the community on a full-time basis. I have 3 kids. I care the community like you do. 7 years ago, I moved to Monterey Park because my son got into Cal State LA at age 13. And now he already graduated and works in Maryland in cancer research. I actually have involved in community. I'm a board of Boys and Girls Club, Chamber of Commerce, and also a commissioner of General Plan 2040. I have the 5-point plans, which I'm big in public safety. And also I care about the city revenue, hope to increase revenue. And also I'm an environmentalist, hopefully to increase green initiatives. And also I wanted to make city council transparent and hold them accountable. And lastly, I wanted to promote youth development and hopefully more jobs foster for the community. I'm against marijuana retail business. I think they're not good for the city, not good for kids, not good for public safety, not good for housing price, and continue to fight for noise pollution. I walk 3,000 houses. I want to show my commitment to commit to my job. And also, I'm #1 on the ballot. So March 3rd, 2020, you for you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. The last opening statement will be delivered by Jennifer Love Tang.
Good evening, Monterey Park. My name is Jennifer Love Tang. I am running for Monterey Park City Council District 2. I'm a public school teacher, I'm a community organizer, and I'm a proud daughter of Monterey Park. I'm also the daughter of war refugees, and for the first 10 years of my life, I grew up in a small apartment. And when my parents saved up enough money, they made the decision to move here to Monterey Park, where I got the opportunity to grow up on a quiet cul-de-sac, attend excellent schools, and get opportunities that I wouldn't have had in life elsewhere. I graduated from Mark Heppel High School and USC, and I've built a career as an educator and as a public servant. And to be completely honest with you, it wasn't in my plans to run for office in 2020. But as the year approached, I was faced with what Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. called the fierce urgency of now. And with 2020 coming, I started to think about all of these issues that face us. The division and stagnation rampant in both local and national politics. We're 15 years away from the point of no return regarding climate change. We are facing a regional housing crisis. We have widening economic gaps. In Monterey Park, there's increased crime and under-resourced agencies. And it's our responsibility to fix these issues for future generations. And that requires bold leadership and political will. Part of that requires ensuring that all Monterey Park residents are heard, particularly those who are working class, those who are middle class, those who are young, those who are old, those who don't speak English, and those of us who are working hard to pay our bills. I'm running to be Monterey Park's working and middle class champion. I'm running because our next generation can no longer wait. I ask for your vote so that together we can build a Monterey Park for the future, a Monterey Park that our children and our grandchildren deserve. Thank you.
Thank you to all the candidates for their opening statements. And now we will begin with the questions. The first question is, why are you running for City Council? And we are going to begin with Lorraine Martinez.
Good evening. I'm running for City Council because I'm the only person that has worked for the Southern California Association of Governments, knows the governments of city government, county government, and I worked in the construction industry, and I know budgeting, scheduling, and all the intricate parts that play into building a good project. So I want to use this experience so I can work together with the community so that we together can build a Monterey Park that matches our vision for what Monterey Park can be. So I also want to bring ethics back into the City Council. So we can do great things in Monterey Park, smart planning. We can do environmental planning, be innovative in our building plans.
Thank you. The next candidate to answer this same question will be Robert Bob Jin.
I'm running because I care about our city. I've been a resident for so many years, and I see our developments falling behind. Why does it take 20 years for these development and where we can't have a good tax base and to increase our general funds? We need that funding to support our police department and fire department. We needed to look at it from a perspective of ensuring that our community and our residents are provided the service that they need here in the city, you know. And you know, I want to build consensus. I'm always bringing people together, and I feel that I could bring our community together and to work together and not have all the rhetoric that goes on in the city council race. Thank you.
The next person to answer this question is Yvonne Yiu.
A lot of people ask me, why am I running for office? You have 3 kids. Do you have time? I told them, this is the best investment of my time because I wanted to have a better city, not just for us, but for our next generation. I want to utilize my 25 years finance and legal background to serve the community. Within my 10 security licenses, I have one called municipal principal license, which I understand how to underwrite city municipal bonds, and I know the regulations inside out. And so I hope to utilize my experience to serve the community because I'm like you, like most of the women out there, we love our country, we love our city, and we love our families. Thank you.
Thank you. Jennifer Love Tang.
I mentioned earlier that I'm a community organizer, and what that means is that I spend a lot of time talking to people about things that they care about. If you've seen me at your doors, one of the questions I ask you is, what are the issues you care about? And over the last several years, having these conversations, I started to see a gap between what my neighbors, my friends, my family members were talking about and what was being talked about up here on the dais at City Council. So that's why I'm running. I think it's really important that in a city as diverse as ours, that voices are heard, that people are engaged, and that we do things the right way when we're making decisions that are crucial for the future of our city. I care deeply about the next generation. In fact, I am the next generation. My fiance and I were privileged enough to be able to become homeowners here in Monterey Park, and we're here for the long term. And what that means is that for our future children, for all of our future children, we need to build a city that will serve them. We need to integrate more technology, more innovation. Our city has been stagnant for a long time, and in order for us to move forward, we need fresh ideas and bold leadership. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is, what would be the first thing that you would change in the city? The next person to answer that question would be Robert Bob Jin.
I think the first thing I would look at is really the infrastructure of our city, because the biggest complaint that as I've been walking is our streets. And a lot of people doesn't understand why our streets aren't fixed, and too many potholes. But I also think that, we need to look at it strategic planning in our cities a little bit more, especially within our department, and how we could service our community a little quicker, and see if we do need help in certain departments. Thank you.
The next person is Yvonne Yiu.
Yes, I totally agree that I wanted to do the connections between City Hall and the resident. Because when I walk 3,000 houses, I realized that there's a lot of disconnections between the city and resident. First of all, I think language is one of the issues, because it seems like I'm the only candidate that can speak Chinese. But among our district, we have over 50% Chinese. So there's a lot of disconnections there. Hopefully, I would be the bridge to help the residents. And also, when I'm running for a campaign, I realize that a lot of people that they use different social media, and it's hard to reach out to all the people out there. So I wanted to suggest to the city government that we should try all the way possible that to get a resident connected and get the town hall meeting out there and get the news out there. So to educate our residents in different ways that to be able to cover all the residents' communications. Thank you.
Thank you. The next candidate is Jennifer Love Tang.
New York City has a participatory budgetary committee system. And what that means is that groups of residents get together to create proposals for how they want to spend parts of our city budget. I would want to institute something like that here in Monterey Park, and it would solve a lot of the issues that Mr. Shatkin and Mr. Lowe brought up about community voice and about participation in our budget proposals. I think a lot of committees, or if we can start this, what it'll end up being able to address are issues that I've heard at the doors, like airplane noise, starting a committee and devoting funds to fight the FAA with our low-flying planes, especially over the Brightwood Hill. Youth development, reinstating our youth commission, devoting funds for programs that will support our youth. I hear a lot from young parents that we have play structures in our parks that need updates. And so that's something that I want to implement here in order to engage more residents and give the power back to the people. Thank you.
And the next candidate is Lorraine Martinez.
In meeting with the residents, I have heard you loud and clear. Your voices are not being heard in the city council chambers. If your voices are not being heard, this is not your city. The plans that are being decided here on the dais are not your plans. What I would do as I sit here in the dais is I would listen to you. This would be our community. We would build it together. The plans for smart planning would be the residents' plans and our businesses' plans. We would be innovative, and those innovations will be ideas from our community, both businesses and residents. And I hear you loud and clear. You want to bring back ethics and integrity to our city council. And I would like to do that. I know I can do it, and I will do it. Thank you.
The next question is, what are your plans for limited growth, regarding hotels. And we will begin with Robert Bob Jim.
We just got to make sure we don't overdo it, because we don't want a whole lot of hotels in the city. I think if they're placed strategically throughout in some areas of the city, it may be good to enhance the different areas of the city. I know that we want to see good developments. And the hotels that are going up are quite huge, and hopefully that we can mitigate some of the hotels that is not concentrated all in one part of the city.
Thank you. The next candidate to answer this question is Yvonne Yiu.
I believe all the city development has to be balanced. Not over-concentrate in one area, or not over-concentrate in one type of development. So we have to look into the traffic reports. We have to take a look into the economics reports to make sure that the development is well-balanced in the city and not affecting a certain area. So to me, hotel is actually quite a lot of hotel already approved on North Atlantic Boulevard. And then the traffic is getting quite congested there. So we don't want any more hotel, hopefully, to build in North Atlantic. But sometimes it be case-by-case basis in other area. So I would like to see if there's any plan come into place, and then we look into the traffic report and economics report and take everything into considerations and hopefully have a balanced city. Thank you.
Thank you. The next candidate to answer this question is Jennifer Love Tang.
We have enough hotels in Monterey Park. I understand that the ones that are in the pipeline that are almost open bring a 14% bed tax to the city, and that's really strong for our revenue, and we need that tax base. But that being said, we need more development that serves residents. We're not the ones that are going to be staying in those hotels. That's just the truth. We need more national name brand businesses, more retail, more housing, more affordable housing. We need buildings that will serve us and more services that will serve us. I agree with a lot of what the other candidates up here have said in regards to smart development. And what that means is using data, using artificial intelligence, using technology to ensure that we are building developments that are for the 21st century. It's 2020 now. And so as we think about what we're building, we need to ensure that not only are we thinking about using all these approaches to our traffic studies, our environmental studies, we also need to be leaders in environmentally progressive developments. Thank you.
Thank you. The next candidate will be Lorraine Martinez.
Let's not be mistaken. Hotels bring in 14% sales tax to the city. That would increase our revenue. However, hotels need to be smartly planned, and they cannot just be placed in areas that are already traffic infested. They need to be planned in places that make sense. And hotels need to bring something to the community. I looked on the website with the recent Courtyard Marriott. I saw nothing for the community, no restaurant. So it doesn't give anything to us, it just gives something to the tourists. We have 4 humongous restaurants just in the surrounding areas. Monterey Park does not have the footprint for hotels. I would like to see that property used for international name brand stores and restaurants that will bring something to the residents and as well as increase our tax revenue.
The next question is, as an elected official, how would you combat homelessness in Monterey Park? The next candidate is Yvonne Yiu.
Recently, I had discussions with the LA Councilman, David Rue. He is very knowledgeable about homelessness issue. And then he mentioned about once a person becomes homeless, then it's hard to help them because they may not want your help. In that situation, it's hard to reduce or prevent this kind of situation. So we have to avoid it, hopefully, in the beginning. Our city has some kind of issue, but then it's not to a point where similar to LA downtown. And housing costs is actually one of the big issues that causing the homelessness issue. And so for Monterey Park, the state required us to have 5,200 additional housing units. And so we actually have to look into smaller units for younger families and senior so that hopefully we can prevent the situations getting more serious in our city. Thank you.
Jennifer Love Tang.
Monterey Park needs to do our part in solving the regional housing crisis. It's time for us to move past the tired old NIMBY arguments against affordable housing that are rooted in racism and classism. I will fight for affordable housing because affordable housing is an integral part of homelessness prevention. If we don't want homeless people, we need to make sure that there are houses for them. Now, I know that there is a lot of fear rooted in that, but I went on a tour, an affordable housing tour, an inclusionary housing tour in Pasadena, and we all know how beautiful the houses are in Pasadena and how wonderful their property values are. And their city has taken a really aggressive approach towards building affordable housing, wraparound housing, and working with the county and the state, as well as law enforcement to ensure that these developments are really well integrated into their society. 48% of Monterey Park residents are renters. 1 in 3 of those renters spend over half of their monthly income on rent. And so 1 in 3 renters in Monterey Park are 1 medical bill away from losing their homes. So we need to make sure we address that. Thank you.
Lorraine Martinez.
Homelessness is a national problem, and no one has the answer. However, they are diligently working towards finding a solution to homelessness. Bringing it closer to our own city, right now, we do not have a problem with homelessness. However, the San Gabriel Valley Council of Governments is made up of 30 cities in our San Gabriel Valley, Monterey Park being one of them. In 2018, they adopted a program that gives guidelines to homelessness, building shelters, and affordable housing. They have acquired funding that will be distributed among the cities. So they are planning for homelessness should it occur, and our city is on the board with this COG to plan for homelessness should it be a problem in our city.
Thank you.
And we'll have the funding. Thank you.
Robert Bob Jin.
You know, I attend Shepherd of the Hills United Methodist Church, and we do have a homeless person who sleeps downstairs, but he cleans up and leaves in the morning, and it's a big issue. And we also see that families are homeless too, and we work with Family Promise to provide shelter for some of the families for about 2 weeks and provide meals and support for them. And as Henry alluded to, is that we need to work with our county supervisors and public health department and to work with these homeless people who are on the streets. You know, I know like Family Promises, they work with faith-based churches and to help them out for a couple of weeks and help families and provide services for them and help the parents look for, I'm sorry.
The next question is, are you in favor of a marijuana dispensary in Monterey Park? Why or why not? The next candidate to address this question is Yvonne Yiu.
I'm totally against it. I just mentioned it at my opening that it is not good for kids, not good for housing price, not good for public safety. And to me, it is a net loss to our city. No matter how much money they bring into the city has to lose so much that we have to have many years to build up, like school ranking, like public safety, like housing price. So to me, it's a net loss to the city. Although marijuana is already legalized, but I don't think Monterey Park needs that income. And I did talk to Montebello city councilman, not just the social issue, but also environmental issue as well. The water got contaminated. The chemical actually lead to air pollutions. And also people steal the waste of marijuana and the waste bin has to lock up. So there's a lot of public safety issue as well. So I'm totally against it. Thank you.
Jennifer Love Tang.
I'm completely against this, and if anybody has told you different, they are lying. The reason why I oppose this as a teacher is the access that young people have to marijuana when they're in proximity to dispensaries has gone up, and we've seen that in the studies that have happened. But beyond that, I'm concerned about our ability to regulate if we bring this here to Monterey Park. I talked to a small business owner who was trying to get a commercial lease in an unincorporated area of LA County, and he was telling me how hard it was to get a commercial lease when there are marijuana dispensaries coming in, paying a year's rent upfront in cash. And what that means is that it hurts our small businesses. And so we as a city do not have the capacity yet to adequately regulate marijuana dispensaries. And there's no reason for us to pursue this at this time. Thank you.
Lorraine Martinez?
I do not support marijuana dispensaries in our city. Statistics show that small crimes such as vandalism increases near the vicinity where marijuana businesses are established. That means that's putting our citizens, our family, our children in harm. I do not support any business that would jeopardize our family's safety, their property values, or their properties, period.
Robert Bob Jim?
I don't support it at all. I had a business down in South Central and had kids who were smoking pot and people smoking pot, and it didn't bring good people into the neighborhood, and you're fighting kids who smoked it so much that they didn't know where they were, and they become very irritated and arrogant, and we just don't need that type of dispensaries in our city. And being on the Board of Education, we have a zero tolerance for drugs.
The next question is, what, if anything, can be done about airplane noise, low-flying planes? And we will begin with Yvonne Yiu.
In my opening, I already said that I will fight against noise pollutions, not just the noise, but then the dust, actually not good for health. And since Monterey Park are on a flight path, so that affect quite a lot of residents. And so I did talk to a few residents, and hopefully we can help to solve the issue by possibly legal actions between city and FAA. A lot of people said it's impossible to fight with FAA, but then FAA changed route for Lake Arrowhead resident a few weeks ago, and then they have a settlement with Newport Beach resident as well. So what we would like to actually is to see if there's a certain legal actions that we can help the Monterey Park resident to fight for some kind of settlement and solutions with FAA. Hopefully they can fly higher or change the route, or maybe move to a different route path or flight path. But then I know sometimes FAA is not easily making decisions without any proper legal action. Thank you.
Jennifer Love Tang?
We need to form a committee of residents and experts to fight the FAA. The airplane noise has been detrimental to many residents' quality of life. I was talking to a voter the other day who's a famous YouTuber, and he told me about how when the planes fly over, the sound affects the video that he's recording. And in addition to that, it just disrupts our quality of life here in Monterey Park. There have been several cities who have fought the FAA, and we can, even as a small city, ride that windfall. Airplanes above Monterey Park have gone up by 85% between 2012 and 2017, and that statistic alone should create the political will to fight this. And if elected, this is something that I will certainly spearhead. Thank you.
Lorraine Martinez?
I've spoken to many residents, and yes, airplane noise is a nuisance, and it affects everybody's quality of life. It affects my quality of life. I've explained that we don't have air conditioning, so we watch TV with our sliding doors open. And I'm watching TV trying to relax, and at the most important time, they're going to solve the problem on the TV. There flies an airplane, and I can't hear who murdered who. So yes, it affects my life too. I know our city has met with, on the round table, with FAA. It's a slow-moving process, but we need to be vigilant and keep working with the FAA. We should also be concerned as citizens is on low-flying planes, what negative effects it has on our health. I would like to see that addressed as well.
Robert Bob Jin?
Well, I live on the flight path. Sometimes I can look out my window, I can feel like I could touch the bottom of the belly of the plane. And it comes over quite often since I'm home and retired, and I see it quite a bit. And I think we need to continue to work diligently with our state legislators and our federal congresswomen, and to make sure that our voices are heard and loud and clear. And I think that FAA really needs to become a part, hear what this community has to say, because if there are so many flights coming over our city, more than any other city, there's an issue. We're 600, 700 feet above sea level, and they're talking about a difference of 1,500 feet or what. It affects our quality of life quite a bit. I mean, it affects my TV, and I miss a lot of comedian jokes.
The next question is, in many driveways, there are many inoperative vehicles. What can be done to remove this blight? And we're going to begin with Jennifer Love Tang.
Driveways are private property, and so it is challenging to address an issue like this, but they are an eyesore to our city. I think one thing that we need to do is improve the communication between our city and its residents, particularly with code enforcement. I've talked to several residents who have put forth code enforcement complaints and don't hear back. City staffers are people too, and so it's understandable that the ball gets dropped on requests when there are hundreds of them that come in. However, we can utilize technology to ensure that there's constant communication happening between residents and city staff to address issues like this.
Lorraine Martinez.
Your driveway is your driveway. That is private property. I wouldn't want government to come in and tell you that you can't park so many cars in your driveway. However, as citizens, as residents, having pride in our community, we must look at the beautification and blight. Are we contributing to beautification, or are we contributing to blight? We do have code enforcement that will enforce such nuisance, eyesore nuisance. But if we have to also realize that we have families that have multiple drivers in their home. How would we explain to them that they have too many cars in their driveway?
Thank you. Robert Bob Jin.
In my neighborhood, I know there's several homes that are like that, and but it's like you said, it's their private property, and I think it just really just talking to them in a personal way, and having the city look at what the code enforcement and ordinance have to say about those issues. But I think personally reaching out to them and just talking to them about cleaning up their driveway and in their front yards.
Thank you. Yvonne Yiu.
I agree that your driveway is your own property. But then we also have to be considerate as a neighbor, and also have the public responsibilities. If it's bother your neighbor, bother the people around it, I hope you can have communications with your neighbor and also talk about it. And if the neighbor, they are not comfortable with it, I would suggest that not just for this case, but then for other situations, that you should document it and make evidence to see what makes you uncomfortable, and maybe someone hiding in a car that scare you, or maybe someone actually have some kind of situations that you should document it. And once you get enough evidence and documentations, and you should contact police, and they will actually do to see whatever fits the situation. Thank you.
As long as we're on the subject of vehicles, perhaps you would address for us your thoughts about traffic congestion, and also explain your understanding of complete street. Lorraine Martinez.
Transportation congestion is a problem everywhere. And in our own city, I see even the traffic changing, especially with the waves. People from downtown LA are using our city streets to bypass the freeways. So that's adding to congestions in our quiet streets. However, the San Gabriel Valley Council of Governments, They have a committee that are addressing the issues on transportation in our San Gabriel Valley, Monterey Park being one of them. So they are addressing the problems and implementation for moving goods and also for transportation along our streets. And there's this innovation that's just coming out. It's a mass transit and between mass transit and Uber. And it's a new pilot program that will aid in traffic congestion and people moving
Thank
out of
you.
their cars. Thank you.
Robert Bob Jin.
You know, I see traffic down Monterey Pass Road quite a bit now. In fact, if you go from the Minnick to, from Floral to all the way down to Fremont, you see a lot of cars getting off the freeway, off the 710, traveling up the Monterey Pass Road, or making right turns on Brightwood Street, and then you have a lot of traffic going through your residential. And, you know, it's really, the congestion, we really need to work with our neighboring cities on their street lights as well as ours, because I know if you're going from 1 or 2 lanes to 1 lane, and then underneath the freeway for 2 lanes and to another area, it makes it the traffic unbearable. You know, going down Brightwood, from Monterey Pass to Atlantic is congested too.
Yvonne Yiu.
LA is well known with traffic problems. So for the situations in Monterey Park, I do see that North Atlantic has a quite serious problem. And we wanted to work with Caltrans and LA County to make sure that the traffic lights actually did measure it correctly and hopefully provide an easy flow for traffic. And at the same time, I think we also wanted to work with the traffic commissioner because they are the one that approve new developments, especially with the traffic reports study. So I would like to also work with different departments if I get elected to hopefully solve the traffic in different aspects. Thank you.
Jennifer Love Tang.
There are 2 solutions to solving our traffic issue here in Monterey Park. Number 1 is using data and math. With all of us using Google Maps now, with so many drivers using technology, we have so many data points. And I recently read an article developed by city planners and developers that said that because of all the data points that we have, there's no reason for us to have traffic any longer. We just need to utilize that data for good. The other solution is providing alternatives to driving. For the last 60 years, we've focused on cars. We've been very car-centric, but complete streets means streets that not only serve those of us who drive private cars, but those of us who walk, those of us who take public transportation, those of us who bike. And Monterey Park needs to do more in order to spearhead these complete streets. One of the ideas that I have, when I was young, took the Spirit bus often. And those routes haven't really changed much over the last several years. We have our new marketplace, but the bus doesn't go there. So we need to re-examine those routes so that we can increase ridership and lessen our dependence on private vehicles. Thank you.
The next question comes from a student at Brightwood Elementary. And it says, what will you do to help make the area around my school safe for kids like me? And we will begin with Lorraine Martinez.
Safety for our children should be our #1 priority. Children should be going to school to learn, to socialize, and learn new skills. Their safety should not be a worry of theirs, nor their parents. We have crossing guards that protect our children. We need to have police presence to make sure that undesirable adults are not threatening or harming our children. I hope that we can all, as a community, look into this issue and fight it and act quickly if we ever see our children threatened or their safety threatened as well. Thank you.
Robert Bob Jin.
So school safety around on traffic, it has been an age-old problem at all of our schools. And those are things that we always deal with. We always try to talk to the police department. Of course, we don't have enough police officers on hand to cover all 4 of our elementary schools in with the Alhambra Unified School District, we do have crossing guards. But we need to educate our parents and tell them, don't double park. Every parent wants to drop their kids off as close to school as possible. So we see parents double parking, letting their kids off in the middle of the street, crossing streets by themselves, and that has been an issue no matter how many times we tell our parents that don't do this because kids can get hurt. When I was a parent at Brightwood, I saw kids that almost got hit by a car because they were running across the street and the parents weren't parking their car and crossing the crosswalks.
Yvonne Yiu.
Public safety is the top issue, especially for kids. I'm the board of director of Boys and Girls Club, and we have parents meeting periodically. And that comes up actually a few weeks ago from my parents that they're concerned about the child safety. And actually I learned there's an app called Live 360 that you would be able to monitor where your kids go and also where their locations. So I think this is a very effective social media app that can help to monitor your kids' safety. Not sure if your kids will enjoy it, but then to the kids' safety, I would say, hope you allow your parents to monitor you and for your best interest. Thank you.
Jennifer Love Tang.
I'm a public school teacher, and so I want to thank this student for this question because this issue is near and dear to my heart. I can't tell you how many times I've had a situation in my class where the lockdown bell rings and it's my job to protect my students in my class. I've had students ask me point blank if I would take a bullet for them. And so school safety is at the top of students' minds every day. In order to solve this issue and make Brightwood safer for our community, we need to work with the school district and local law enforcement to ensure that they have the resources that they need to keep our students safe. I think Mr. Shatkin's idea of a school watch is really, really great because when I was a student at Hillcrest Elementary, I had really great relationships with our local PD. We had a DARE program and an officer came into our class every week, and so I knew as a young student that I could go to our law enforcement. That's not necessarily the case anymore, and I want to ensure that our young students in Monterey Park know that they have people protecting them. Thank you.
Our last question for the evening is, how would you prevent corruption amongst city leaders? Robert Bob Jin.
You know what, it is about transparency and accountability, and we need to be accountable to each other as if we're on the city council and to the residents. I think that's really very important that we see that, and then if need to do, let's do a background check. We do that at school sites before people walk into our schools. We said, give us your credit card, and we send it through the Rapture system. Not your credit card, but your driver's license, and we send it through the Rapture system to check if there is any felonies or they had committed some misdemeanor or crime.
Yvonne Yiu.
I have zero tolerance in corruption. And it bothers me when people are not transparent. And I wanted to hold everyone accountable for whatever they said. So from my previous legal background, I do have, I was arbitrators in NASD, and also I do expert witness for 100 of security court cases. And transparency, very important. You have to disclose everything to that you have conflict of interest with. So whenever I see city council, the current city council is very upset. People have their own interests. And the reason this is actually one of the reasons that I wanted to run is because I don't want to see that anymore. And I hope the city council will increase the transparency, and I will personally hold people accountable as well for whatever they said. Thank you.
Jennifer Love Tang.
Corruption is rooted in money, so we need to get money out of politics. That means a few different things. One, I don't have any business interests in Monterey Park, and neither does anybody in my family, and I think that's really, really important because the vast majority of residents in Monterey Park do not have business interests. I think that we can also take a cue from neighboring cities like Alhambra and Los Angeles and institute election finance reform. Here in Monterey Park, a candidate can give themselves or somebody can give them an unlimited amount of money to run for office. That's contrary to state assembly where there's a limit of $4,700. That's contrary to the presidential race, which has a limit of $2,000-something. Here, though, there's no limit, and that means that nefarious influencers can come in and buy our city council. I know that in November in Alhambra, there's a city ballot proposition that would limit contributions. And also in Los Angeles, there's rules that limit developers from contributing to political campaigns if they have a project in the mix. And so I would like to explore instituting that here in Monterey Park.
Lorraine Martinez.
You cannot have corruption without unethical behavior and actions. It is the character of the person that will show you they will do honorable things on this council. So it is very important for you as residents not to hear what people say or the promises that they will make. Look at their character. That will determine what they will do for you on this dais. I don't know what comes first, the politician or the corruption. But we as residents have to hold our elected officials at the highest standards. It is our duty and our right to question them and to hold them accountable.
Thank you very much. That concludes the question section of our candidate forum. But we will proceed with closing statements from each candidate, and we're going to begin with Jennifer Love Tang.
To the residents of Monterey Park, I ask for your vote to be your representative in District 2. As I mentioned earlier, I'm a public school teacher and I've built my career as an educator. And I'd like to share a little bit about why I think teachers need to be elected to public office. Number one, teachers are really big nerds, and I love policy, and I love understanding all of the intricacies and the complexities of the proposals that are brought forth here. I look forward to diving into that. Number two, teachers are great listeners. My job as an educator is to ensure that the voices of my students are heard, and that is what I will do for you on the Monterey Park City Council. Thirdly, teachers have chosen to dedicate their life to public service. I started out my career as a volunteer teacher in Cambodia, and that experience taught me the importance of what it means to serve others, and that's my primary motivation for putting my name out here. I ask for your vote, and I encourage you to do your research. My website is jenniferlovetang.com, on Facebook at Jennifer Love Tang, on Instagram at Jennifer Love Tang. Please send me messages and ask me questions. Thank you.
Yvonne Yiu.
Hi, this is Yvonne Yiu. At the opening statement, and actually I already described what my background is, to me, City Council should have a balance of power, should have a diversity of professions. And I believe that finance and legal are two very important knowledge and experience. You cannot learn it in a day. But then for city issues, they are very complex issues. I don't want it to say they are easy. You are not just voting for whatever that you listen to other people. We have to be able to be independent and determine what's the best for the citizen. So I urge your vote for me as a public servant. I'm the number one on the ballot, and hopefully you're number one choice. So March 3rd, 2020, you for you. Thank you so much.
Robert Bob Jin.
You know, I have a proven leadership experience that I can bring to the city to move our city forward. As I have served on the Board of Education for the last 18 years, and it has not been about me, but about the children that we serve in our community and providing a quality education. I will bring that same attitude to the city, and it will be not about me, but about the city and our community. I think that's very important. I want to bring our city together in which we're working together as a community and meeting the needs of our residents. You know, the only promise I'll ever make is that I will work hard for our city and for the needs of our city. And the city of Monterey Park has been my home for over 60 years. I care and I love living in the city. It is home to me and my family, and I will always listen to what residents have to say. So I hope that I ask for your vote on March 3rd.
Lorraine Martinez.
I am loyal to the residents and to our city. I have no influential ties with developers, big business, or special interest groups. I will listen to your concerns, suggestions, and preferred choices and promote the vision of our residents. I have heard your concerns loud and clear, and I know your worry. I get it, because I too feel the worry, seeing the direction our city is headed, and that our voices are not being heard. But let's set aside that worry, because I believe together we can aspire to be a better Monterey Park. Let's welcome innovation, environmental-friendly elements in our planning, sensible planning, and national named restaurants and shops. Together, we can improve our quality of life and preserve all that is good in Monterey Park. In this election, your vote is your voice, and it is your opportunity to change the status quo.
Thank you very much for taking the time to be part of this forum. And as stated earlier, the League's voter service goal is to promote an informed and involved electorate. We hope that we have succeeded in helping you to become better informed about your choices in this election. But now we turn the choices over to you for the action part. Please participate in our democracy by casting your vote by mail or at a voter center, and urge your friends and family to do the same. Remember, the deadline for registering to vote is February 18th, 2020, and Election Day is March 3rd, 2020, with vote centers starting to open on February 22nd, 2020. Further information about all of this is available at lavote.net. You may access impartial candidate and ballot information at votersedge.org. And last but not least, please remember that the world is run by people who show up. Thank you again, and good night.